Whoever does not miss the Soviet Union has no heart. Whoever wants it back has no brain. Sometimes it is necessary to be lonely in order to prove that you are right. Those who fight corruption should be clean themselves. I have a private life in which I do not permit interference. It must be respected. Terrorism has no nationality or religion. We shall fight against them, throw them in prisons, and destroy them. My personal position is that society must keep children safe. Everything will probably never be okay. But we have to try for it. I was brought up in a very ordinary family, in fact, a worker's family. Both my father and mother were ordinary citizens. I don't read books by people who have betrayed the motherland. If you aspire to be a leader of your own country, you must speak your own language, for God's sake. He who does not regret the breakup of the Soviet Union has no heart. He who wants to revive it in its previous form has no head. Iraq is a small but very proud nation. I think the American people should express their preferences and will accept their choice. Russia and China are very natural partners. We are neighbors with an immense common border. The more intermediaries there are, the more problems there are. Political activities in Russia should be as transparent as possible. Financing political activities from abroad is something the state should keep an eye on. Politics should not interfere with sports. And sports should impact politics. We're no longer in the Cold War. Eavesdropping on friends is unacceptable. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that in Russia, unlike in 1/3 of the world's countries, being gay is not a crime. It's alarming that military intervention in internal conflicts in foreign countries has become commonplace for the United States. You can swim any way you like in the Dead Sea, actually. There are both things in international law, the principle of territorial integrity and right to self-determination. Our society, including the liberals, must understand that there must be order. Our military might is the guarantor of Russia's security and independence. The task of the government is not only to pour honey into a cup, but sometimes to give bitter medicine. The strengthening of our statehood is, at times, deliberately interpreted as authoritarianism. I am not prejudiced in any way. Spying has always gone on since ancient times. I believe the U.S. already understands and will understand more and more that only a strong Russia will respond to the genuine interests of the United States. A considerable share of the world's population still cannot afford comfortable housing, education, and quality health care. I go to the gym, I swim daily, and from time to time I meet with friends and do extracurricular stuff. No one should be allowed to violently trample on the law. In accordance with the Constitution of the Russian Federation, the issues of foreign policy and defense are fully in the hands of the President. In the modern world, those who are weak will get unambiguous advice from foreign visitors which way to go and what policy course to pursue. No references to the need to fight terror can be an argument for restricting human rights. Nobody and nothing will stop Russia on the road to strengthening democracy and ensuring human rights and freedoms. Few people understand the magnitude of the catastrophe that happened late in the 1980s when the Communist Party had failed to modernize the Soviet Union. The democratic choice Russian people made in the early 90s is final. Our aims are absolutely clear. They are a high living standard in the country and a secure, free, and comfortable life. I spend a little time every day to play sports. The Russian people have their own cultural code, their own tradition. President Obama hasn't been elected by the American people in order to be pleasant to Russia. We are all different, but when we ask for the Lord's blessings, we must not forget that God created us equal. In some of the states in the U.S., homosexuality remains a felony. Stalin is the most popular figure in all of Russia. My working and personal relationship with President Obama is marked by growing trust. I appreciate this. The United States and Russian security services regularly exchange information. Libya is divided into tribes and clans. We must stop using the language of force and return to the path of civilized diplomatic and political settlement. I am convinced that the norm in Russia should become a family with 3 children. Europeans are really dying out. I am never guided by a possible assessment of my work. Protest actions and propaganda are 2 slightly different things. The Russian people and Russian culture are the linchpin, the glue that binds together this unique civilization. It's Russia some people would like to get rid of. They are still afraid of our nuclear deterrent. We have our own foreign policy whether they like it or not. At a certain point, we saw the police cracking down on the Occupy Wall Street activists. I won't call the actions of police appropriate or inappropriate. You must obey the law, always, not only when they grab you by your special place. The growing economic potential of India and Russia is mutually complementary in many respects. Russia needs a strong state power and must have it. But I am not calling for totalitarianism. One can truly enjoy his or her life only while experiencing it, and it is inevitably related to a certain level of risk. Thieves must sit in prison. The transfer of power is always a test of the constitutional system, a test of its strength. I think it's fine when the mayor of the biggest city in Russia consults the president. Radicals can be found in any environment. I think we should not control the internet. Russia is a part of European culture. Therefore, it is with difficulty that I imagine NATO as an enemy. To pay more is the easy way. In fact, the solution possibilities to the problem are many. Yes, life in Chechnya so far looks more like a life after a natural disaster. Russia does not want confrontation of any kind. And we will not take part in any kind of holy alliance. U.S. Society doesn't want to play the role of international policeman. Cromwell is just as much of a bloody dictator as was Stalin. As far as oligarchs who acquire sports team abroad and invest money abroad, I wouldn't treat this phenomenon as something bad. McCain fought in Vietnam. I think that he has enough civilian blood on his hands. The path towards a free society has not been simple. There are tragic and glorious pages in our history. A figure who receives money from abroad for his political work, and thus serves some foreign interest, cannot be a politician in Russia. At last, Russia has returned to the world arena as a strong state, a country that others heed and that can stand up for itself. I myself know some people who are gay. We're on friendly terms. I'm not prejudiced in any way. Anyone who doesn't regret the passing of the Soviet Union has no heart. Anyone who wants it restored has no brains. It is necessary to suppress any extremist actions on all sides, regardless of their origin. Nobody should pin their hopes on a miracle. Why does the world dislike Russia? I do not think that we are unloved or considered to be ignorant. How does one control weight? By not overeating. How does one stay in shape? One plays sports. There are no magic pills here. We should not just consume hydrocarbon fuel, but use it to develop nuclear energy, hydropower, and renewable energy sources. If you want my personal attitude, I would tell you that I don't care about a person's sexual orientation. The philosophy of FIFA is to expand world soccer space, to spread out the world football space. Demographers affirm that choosing to have a second child is already a potential choice in favor of a third. The worst thing for a politician is to try and cling to power by every possible means, and focus only on that. I think happiness is love. China is a great country with a great culture, populated by fascinating, industrious and talented people. I believe that the presidential term should be limited. Between major countries, there certainly always are some common ground and points of tension. The Russian parliament has condemned the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It is extremely dangerous to encourage people to see themselves as exceptional, whatever the motivation. I would prefer to abandon the terminology of the past. Superpower is something which we used during the Cold War time. Why use it now? If one looks at the map of the world, it's difficult to find Iraq, and one would think it rather easy to subdue such a small country. Terrorists are always a threat to someone. If we'll be scared of them, it means they have one. I swim almost every day, 1,000 meters. Nobody should have any illusion about the possibility of gaining military superiority over Russia. We will never allow this to happen. I'm eternally grateful to fate and the citizens of Russia that they've trusted me to be the head of the Russian government. The Eurasian Union is a project meant to preserve the identities of nations and the historic Eurasian community in the new century, in a new world.